Hello everyone and welcome back to All About Death Knight series. I'm EvlKray the DK, and today we're going to be discussing talents and glyphs section of the Blood DK spec. So when you first choose Blood spec, as you see right here, when you choose it you're going to gain Heart Strike and instantly strike the target and up to 2 additional nearby enemies, causing 130% weapon damage plus 1065 on the primary target, with each additional enemy struck taking 25% less damage than the previous target. Damage dealt to each target is increased by an additional 10% for each of your diseases present. You'll gain Veteran of the Third War, increases your total stamina by 9% and your expertise by 6. You'll gain Vengeance. Each time you take direct damage, you gain 5% of the damage taken as attack power, up to a maximum of 10% of your health. And my personal favorite, you gain Mastery. Each time you heal yourself via Death Strike, you gain whatever percentage of the amount healed as a damage absorption shield. Each point of Mastery. It increases the shield by an additional 6.25%. So I will be discussing my personal spec. I don't use Lichborn, mainly because, in my opinion, and tests I ran, you don't have enough runic power to heal yourself with it, and it's just a waste when you could have a few more threat abilities. So in tier 1 you can get Bladed Armor, Blade Barrier, and Butchery. I don't recommend anyone ever getting Butchery, but that just depends on you. Whenever you kill an enemy that grants experience or honor, you generate up to 10 runic power. In addition, you generate 1 runic power per 5 seconds while in combat. That's just not very viable. You gain 3 in Bladed Barrier. That's what I would put whenever your blood runes are on cooldown. You gain the Blade Barrier effect, which decreases damage taken by 6% for the next 10 seconds. You'll gain Bladed Armor, which increases your attack power by 6 for every 180 armor value you have. I would put 3 in each of these talents. In tier 2 you can gain Hand of Doom. This is really only a PvP talent, but it reduces the cooldown of your Strangulate ability by 30 seconds. You gain Scarlet Fever. It gives your Blood Bowl a 100% chance to afflict enemies with Scarlet Fever, reducing their physical damage dealt by 10% for 30 seconds. I would recommend putting 2 in this. You can gain Scent of Blood. You have 15% chance after dodging, parrying, or taking direct damage to gain the Scent of Blood effect, causing your next 2 melee hits to generate 2 runic power. I recommend putting only 2 in this. If you put 1, that's not enough runic power coming in. If you put 3, you'll have plenty of runic power coming in. But if you put 2, you have plenty of runic power coming in and a floater point. I recommend putting 2 in Improved Blood Tap. It reduces the cooldown of your Blood Tap ability by 30 seconds. That is important when you have to heal yourself. You can just hit it and then heal yourself, and then 30 seconds later you can hit it and heal yourself, or hit it and use Death Strike, or hit it and use whatever. It's important to just get another rune coming at you. So in tier 3 you can gain Blood Caked Blade. I don't recommend putting any talents in this, but you can if you want to, if you have a lot of filler talents. It's definitely viable, but not recommended. Your auto attacks have a 10% chance to cause a Blood Caked Strike, which hits for 25% weapon damage plus 12.5% for each of your diseases on the target. Especially if you use diseaseless tanking, this is definitely not any good, but again, it's 25% weapon damage and it scales up per point, so that could happen, but I don't personally use it. And you can put 1 in Bone Shield. Surrounds you with a barrier of whirling bones. The shield begins with 3 charges, and each damaging attack consumes a charge. While at least 1 charge remains, you take 20% less damage from all sources and deal 2% more damage with all attacks, spells, and abilities. They used to be glyphed. You can get 4 charges, and 4.06 they're just automatically giving you 4 charges. You need to put 3 in Toughness. Increases your armor value from items by 10%. That will obviously help you from being too squishy. You need to put 2 in Abominations of Might if you don't have an Enhancement Shaman or a Ret Paladin in your raid. We currently do, so I don't have it, but increase your attack power by 5% of all party and raid members within 100 yards. Also increase your total strength by 1%. In the 4th tier you gain Improved Blood Presence. Put 2 in that one. Increase your rune regeneration by 20%, reduces the chance that you will be critically hit by melee attacks while in Blood Presence by 6%. In addition, while in Frost Presence or in Holy Presence, you retain 4% damage reduction from Blood Presence. That's obviously important since you, as tanking, you want to stop incoming damage so your healers don't have to spam you and can't kill nobody else. You gain 2 in Blood Parasite. Your melee attacks have a 10% chance to spawn a Bloodworm. The Bloodworm attacks your enemies, gorging itself with blood until it bursts to heal nearby enemies. Lasts up to 20 seconds. That's obviously important. It will help out your healers a whole lot. Sanguine Fortitude. You put 2 in this talent. While active, your Icebound Fortitude reduces damage taken by an additional 30%. It costs no runic power to activate. You can hit that on the fly anytime you're in trouble, and it costs no runic power, as you see there as I demonstrated. So in tier 5, we'll gain Vampiric Blood. I recommend putting 1 point in that, obviously, because you can only put 1 point in that. It temporarily grants the Death Knight 15% of your maximum health, increases the amount of heal generated through spells and effects by 40% for 10 seconds. After the effect expires, the health is lost. You need to put 1 in Rune Tap. It converts 1 blood rune into 10% of your maximum health. That's to heal yourself on the fly. As you see there, I healed myself for 15k. That's exactly 10% of my maximum health. And it will scale if you have more health, obviously. Will of Necropolis can only be obtained through taking Rune Tap, so you need to take Rune Tap. When a damaging attack brings you below 30% of your maximum health, you generate a Blood Rune, and the cooldown of your Rune Tap ability is refreshed. And all damage taken is reduced by 25% for 8 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 45 seconds. That's very important because there are some hits that will take you below 30% of your health. In the 6th tier, you can gain this. These are 2 floater points, but I put them here to. I don't use disease tanking. I use diseaseless. I put them here just mainly for the Blood Bowl, increased Blood Bowl damage, but it increases the damage dealt by your Blood Bowl for 40%. And when you Plague Strike a target that is already infected with your Blood Plague, there is a 100% chance that your next Blood Bowl will consume no runes. That's ideal if you do disease tanking, but again, I don't use that. Improved Death Strike. I recommend putting 3 in there, and you have to put 3 in there to gain Dancing Rune Weapon. Increases the damage and healing done by your Death Strike by 45%, increases its crit strike chance by 9%. And we get Dancing Rune Weapon. This is at 1 cost and 60 runic power. If you know you're going to get a big hit, this is important to save up your runic power to 60 and then pop it. But it summons a second rune weapon that fights on its own for 12 seconds, doing the same attacks as the Death Knight but for 50% reduced damage. The rune weapon also assists in defense of its master, granting an additional 20% parry chance while active. And then I got 8 talents in Unholy. This you will not have to spec into 4.06, but right now I recommend putting 2 in there if it helps with your mind freezes and silences. It increases your chance to hit with your spells by 6%. Spell are all Death Knight abilities that are not direct weapon strikes. Epidemic, put 3 in that one. It increases the duration of Blood Plague and Frost Fever by 12 seconds. That is important, especially since you'll only be using Blood Plague and Frost Fever via Outbreak. You could put 1 in Unholy Command. It reduces the cooldown of your Death Grip ability by 5 seconds and gives you a 50% chance to refresh its cooldown when dealing a killing blow to a target that grants experience or honor. I don't have that in my PvE spec. I do have it in my PvP spec, as you see here, just because in BGs you kill people a lot faster than you would a boss. I don't recommend that unless maybe you're doing ad tanking. If you're the off tank, I'm the main tank, so I use this. And I know I'm probably gonna say, well, if you're the main tank, why don't you use Lichborn to heal yourself? I just don't. I use Death Strike way more than I would ever even consider using Death Coil. I've tested it. Sorry. You gain 3 Immortality, increase the damage and healing of your Death Coil by 15% and Death and Decay by 30%. The only reason I took this, obviously because I don't use Death Coil, is for the extra damage of Death and Decay. So let's move on to the glyphs. You get on your prime glyphs, you're going to get Glyph of Rune Strike. Don't underestimate this one. Increases the crit strike chance of your Rune Strike by 10%. There are no other abilities, there are no other glyphs that you can put in there, and that Rune Strike is your main threat ability. Glyph of Heart Strike, again your other main threat ability, increases the damage of your Heart Strike ability by 30%, and again there are no other glyphs, prime glyphs that you can put in there that would make any sense or even fit for a Death Knight tank. This is a swing one. Glyph of Death Strike, increases your Death Strike's damage by 2% for every 5 runic power you currently have up, to a maximum of 40%. The runic power is not consumed by this effect. I have it because, again, I don't use the Lichborn spec. If you are to use a Lichborn spec, this is an important one. Glyph of Death Coil, increase the damage of your healing, or excuse me, increases the damage or healing done by Death Coil by 15%. Besides those two, there are no other ones. Maybe Glyph of Death and Decay if you're doing a lot of ad tanking, again for the off tank situation, but there aren't really any other viable ones. So then we're going to go to major glyphs. I have Glyph of Rune Tap. Your Rune Tap also heals your party for 5% of their maximum health. Again, there aren't any other main ones that would fit besides these three I have. Glyph of Dancing Rune Weapon, increase the threat generation by 50% while your Dancing Rune Weapon is active. That'll help increase your threat. And you can use that as an opener if you would so choose to. Glyph of Vampiric Blood, increases the bonus healing received by your vampiric while your vampiric blood is active by an additional 15%, but your vampiric blood no longer grants you health. I have that. That's situational. Some people say it's situational. I don't agree with that personally. If you don't like that, you can go ahead and turn the video off. But I personally do not agree with the fact that that's situational. If you have more health and healers are running out of mana, how are they going to get that health up? It's your health does not go up and then heal yourself by using vampiric blood. It only heals yourself when you pop it and you get that extra healing. So 15% extra healing on top of that would help rather than have more healing. And besides that, there are really no other. You can put Anti-Magic Shell in there, increase the duration of Anti-Magic Shell by 2 seconds. That is 15% is way better, excuse me on my English, than 2-second duration of Anti-Magic Shell in my opinion. Bone Shield, they nerfed that glyph. Now it's only a 15% movement speed. Let's see here. Pestilence, you don't use Pestilence as a blood DK tank, or I don't use Pestilence, I guess I should say. There are probably some people who still do disease tanking. I don't recommend it, and I will make a video on that. The Glyph of Blood Bowl, increases the radius of your Blood Bowl ability by 50%. You break CCs that way, so I don't see why you would take that. And again, this is just my opinion, and you probably won't agree with me. So on the minor glyphs, we got Glyph of Resilient Grip. Whenever your Death Grip ability fails because its target is immune, its cooldown is reset. I think I'm going to change that glyph to Horn of Winter. I'm not sure why I have that there at this point in time. I might have switched specs by accident, and this I think this used to be my PvP spec, and then I switched whenever Cataclysm came out. But anyways, Glyphs of Death's Embrace. I was testing out Lichborn, and this is the only reason why I had this on there right there. But your Death Coil refunds 20 runic power when used to heal. I didn't actually see that glyph work. I healed myself, and I didn't get my runic power back, so I don't know. Glyph of Blood Tap. Your Blood Tap no longer causes damage to you. Obviously, you don't want to cause damage to yourself, so that's really the main minor glyph that you can choose from. Other than that, you can choose from any one of these that you want. There really are no major minor glyphs as a blood DK tank, or really as any DK, except Death's Embrace if you're using Lichborn spec. That's an important glyph. But that concludes the talent and glyph section of this tutorial. I will be coming out with my PvP spec and glyphs probably in a couple days. Thank you for watching. I ask that you subscribe, and comment, and give me a thumbs up. And of course, go check out worldofwarcraft.tgn.tv. Thank you.